Hi, this is Kathy Quinn with Floriani. Floriani is a division of R&K Distributing, and I want to welcome you to our Pickle Pie 20-minute dresser tray. I'm so excited to show you this cute project. It's so much fun. These trays are addictive. I've made several, and the good thing about them is that you can customize them to anything you like. Now let's look at what I'm talking about with customizing. Not only can you pick your own fabrics, but with Floriani FTCU, Total Control Software, and I have the Universal Bundle, you can then customize them with the fill, with lettering. So a lot of fun. So let's look at that real quick. I'm going to share my screen very quickly with my embroidery. And I'm going to open up my embroidery software program. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to open. And I want to show you a couple things. I'm going to show you the tray itself. This is the tray as it comes. The design comes from Pickle Pie. It has a nice fill in it. It has a fill that doesn't take real long to stitch. It's perfect. But I wanted to customize mine. Now, when we stitch today, I'm going to go ahead and use this fill to stitch it just because you don't want to watch it stitch a lot of fill. So I'm going to open and I'm going to go to my hearts tray. Now, important, if you want to edit a design, you need to come down here and say, convert it to outlines. What Floriani software does is it turns designs into stitches because it stitches out better. It's a nicer embroidery. But if you want to edit a design, you can't edit it if it's all stitches. So you want to convert it to outline so it will come in as the fill stitch, the run stitch, the satin stitch, however it was created, it was digitized. So I'm going to convert this to outlines and I'm going to open that up. Now with that open, I'm going to come in here and say, you know what? I've got a circle fill in here. I'm going to come over to my sequence view and you can see the third item down is that fill. So I'm going to select it. So with that selected, my fill now says, okay, Kathy, you've got options. Would you like to come in here and make it a texture fill? If I wanted that, I could go in and look through all my texture fills. Now, if you do not have the universal bundle, you have texture fills. You will not have advanced stipple, but you will also have regular stippling. So I could do a regular stipple in here. I'm going to just click on stipple and let it generate a stipple fill. And this is a large thing. And then I can come in here and say, you know what? I want that fill farther apart. I can come in here and start playing with that fill. Or I could go in and say, you know what? I want an advanced stipple fill. And that's if you have the universal bundle, which means that includes the total quilter. Then I could come in here and say, what I want to do in here is I want to make this a heart fill. And I've got hearts in the fabric I'm using, so I'm going to make that. And you know what? The fills are fully customizable. You can resize them without worrying about stitch length. So I'm going to make this 25 millimeters. I want these to be about an inch big because this is a big tray. So this is the extra large tray. So now I've made those hearts a lot larger. So you get how easily you could customize it. Now I could also come in here and I could go to my lettering. I could go to T for text, left mouse click on the T for text icon. And I just want plain old straight text. And I'm going to left mouse click on screen. What that's going to do is it's now going to set up so I can add text to this design. So I could come in here and say, hearts today. There you go. Very original. I could change the size of that font. I could come in here and look through all my fonts to decide what I want. And I've got hundreds, and you can add all the fonts you want to Floriani Total Control, the Universal Bundle, because you have Lettering Master. So you can take any true type font and turn it into an embroidery just by using a wizard. It's awesome. So if I came in here and said, well, maybe I want to make this breezy. And again, I think I want this just 1/2 inch tall. I could apply that. And I've got hearts today. I could put congratulations. I could put anything. I could put ring holder. I could put sewing feet, whatever I want to put in. So, and I can't spell, obviously I can't spell today. So let's just go back and Y. There we go. And I could go in here and customize it this way. Then of course we would say file, and I can save. And then of course I can save to any format on the market. I have every machine format. I can save it as a cut file if this was something I wanted to cut out. I could save that lettering as cut and cut it and use a digital cutter and iron it on. But as you can see, I could save it to a JPEG, an SVG. I can save to anything. So that is, I just wanted to show you how simple it is in our Floriani Total Control to customize this to the way you want it. So now let's quit sharing our screen here. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to come back. I think I'm coming back. There I am. So now that I'm back, we're going to go ahead and go to the machine and we are going to look at some trays and we are going to stitch out our project. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and move to my other camera to make this easy for you. And there we go. So now we are at our camera and let's look at what we can do here. I'm going to move my computer a little bit so you can hear well and see well. There we go. Okay. So now you'll notice I've got a few little examples here of what we've done. Now here is, this was done, several of these trays were done by Clarissa Gossett. Now this one's Merry Christmas from the Gossets. Now this tray is so cool because when they are not snapped together, they're completely flat. So it's easy to make several trays for different uses. And when you store them, you can store them flat. Now here's another one. This one is really neat. It's made out of flannel. And it's got a flannel baby design on the back. And it says, Baby Maddie, born January 17th, 2019. So there's something else you could customize for the nursery, for maybe some pacifiers and stuff. Now this one I particularly, and that again, that's a Clarissa Gossett. Here's another Clarissa Gossett. As you can see, I think it's kind of a little bit, let me see if I can brighten this up just a bit for you to see. You can see that she used the circle fill. She lined it with a velvet and then put a really nice, how nice to put your rings in on the dresser when you take them off, put lotion on or something. And then here's one that's just got a nice stipple fill. Now, this is an extra large tray, as this is their medium tray, and this is a small. Now there's or extra small, and there is another. Now this is the medium tray I did. Just cute little tray. I've used it here in my sewing room to put feet in as I'm changing my feet. It's really nice, and then when I'm through, I can snap it down and put it away. Now the tray we're making today, here is the fill, that heart fill that I had chosen. Now this tray, as you can see, it still needs a little snap because you don't want to watch every single bit of this process. But this is my tray that we're going to create today. So let's look at our materials here. What do we need? Well, if you look at your instructions, you'll find it tells you what size to cut your stitch and shape. Now we've got single side fusible stitch and shape. We're going to cut for this large tray. I believe it was a 5.5 by 5.5. And then I did a 1.5 by 5.5 for the 4 pieces, or 1 1/4. So there are the 4 pieces, because we don't want this to be one piece. So when this folds, it's going to fold nice and crisp. So that's the first thing we cut. And they have a chart in there for what size tray you want to make. Now I've got 1 10.5 by 10.5 piece for the inside of my tray. Now for the outside of my tray, I've got 2 pieces. It tells you what to cut. This one was, oh, and I didn't fold this down. Oh, yes, I did. I did it correctly. Okay. This was a 10.5 by 9 and you folded it down. You fold the top edge down 1/2 inch and pressed it in. Then you did a 3" by 10.5. And then we took Quilters Select Apple Web Plus. We need a webbing. And so you can see I've got the paper on here. And I'm going to take this off. You're going to center it on. It'll tell you the size to cut your pieces. And you're going to center it. Now, don't try and pick from the edge. Score it like I did with, and I score with a T-pin. I'm going to score it. I'm going to try and score it where I can grab it here without making a mess. There we go. Now, as I've scored this, I'm going to pull this away, and it's going to leave my Apple Web Plus, my webbing, on the back of my fabric. This is so when we finish our tray and we fold it up, we turn it to the right side and we fold it. When we press it, it will fuse this fabric to the other side of our stitch and shape. So it won't bag or pucker any. So I'm going to take those off. I'm going to take this away, put that in the garbage, and I'll go ahead and do the same here. And again, I always score, because if you pull from the edge, we tend to either pick up the edge or fray our fabric. So I'm all about just picking it up here and pulling this away. So those are now ready. All my pieces are ready. So we are going to look at our hoop real quick. We pull it off the machine. Now in my hoop, I have Wet and Gone Tacky. This is a fantastic stabilizer. And if you purchase the kit, which comes with your designs, your stabilizer, everything you need except your fabric and thread, because of course we all want to customize it to what we like. Your kit will come with all the pieces you need. Wet and Gone Tacky is absolutely wonderful to work with. It's a totally water-soluble stabilizer. It's got a protective paper that we will pull away, and everything will stick to it, making it very easy to put our fabrics down and everything. Now I'm going to pull that away. Now, Wet and Gone Tacky is totally water soluble, so it does rinse away if need be. And it's just a placeholder. We don't need anything else. We've got plenty of stability in here, so we need it for its placeholder properties. Now, normally I would stitch out the first color and everything. I would match my inside fabric. On this tray, we're not going to do that because I want you to be able to see what we are doing. So let me get this threaded up and we'll get going right here. All right. So I'm going to move my camera so you can see a little better here. See what we can do. There we go. I think there. Yeah, that's much better. And let me deal with our exposure a little bit. Okay, so the first thing that's going to stitch out is a placement line for my stitch and shape. So I'm going to push my button and we're going to get started. Now I love the fact this is on Wet and Gone Tacky because it will make it very easy for us to stick our stitch and shape down and not worry about it scooching around or anything, because I don't want to have to put pink tape under here, peel the tape off, put the fabric down. So this makes it really nice and easy. It also makes it easy when I put my inside fabric in. And we want to kind of pull it taut. Now I don't mean stretch it or distort the grain of the fabric, but I'm going to pull it a little bit taut in there so that I don't have any looseness when I fold this tray up. I want those, when those sides and fold up, I want them nice and crisp. So here we go. We're almost there. And then we will put down our pieces. Then I will take this off the machine so that you can easier see exactly what's going on. Let's see if I take this exposure down just a little more and see if that helps. No, not really. We'll just stay where we are. I don't get too fancy here. Because I'm going to remove it from the machine for you to see. So for this tray, you'll need this. You'll also need snaps. Now, I happen to use case snaps. I noticed on Clarissa's, she went and bought metal snaps. I like the little case snaps. I have lots and lots of colors, and I have the applicator. You'll see that. So I'm real happy with my case snaps. Okay, so we're going to remove this from the machine. I'll just move my camera with us so we can kind of get a idea here. Now you can see there's my placement lines. So I'm going to place my stitch and shape centered within those placement lines. Whoops, that wasn't centered very good. And I encourage you to take it off the machine. I know sometimes that's like, I can see okay. But unless you're looking from the top down, you're going to have a little bit of skewed vision and it's not going to be perfect. So by standing over it, you make sure you can center things. And by putting this here, I've managed, how do you lose? Now y'all can. Oh, good. I found it. I can't believe that. Can't believe I lost that. But now I'm just going to place the last piece. This is crazy. I haven't moved from here. I threw it in the garbage. With when I pulled off the stabilizer, it must have stuck to it, and I threw it in the garbage. So now you can see we have all 4 centered within those lines. Now our next stitching sequence is going to stitch those down. Like I said, normally I would change to white to match the fabric, but I'm just going to go ahead just so we get a clear picture of what's going on. So now we're going to stitch this down. And if you can, if your machine has the ability, now that nice thing about having that wet and gone tacky is it's not going to move at all. And it's going to hold that nice to the stabilizer. Okay, now our next step is we are going to lay our inside fabric down. And we're going to put it right side looking at you. So we're going to center this. And again, I'm just going to continue to pull this off the machine between the steps, just so you have a clear picture of what I'm doing. So there we go. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to center it over that. And I am going to press it down. And like I said, I'm going to make sure that it's taut. Now I'm not stretching the grain of the fabric or anything, but I'm making sure that this is nice and taut so that I don't want it loose or puckering in here. So now we're going to place this back on the machine. And we are going to stitch our pattern that we have for the stippling, the quilting. Now I'm a smoother. I can't help it, I'm a smoother. If you're a smoother, watch your fingers. Now, as you can see, it's making doing the shape. We're going to have tabs on this to fold that up and around, and we're going to put snaps. So it's creating all of that for us right now. And I love the way that she's made it where the stitching shape is just a little smaller than the fabric. So we're not trying to deal with that in our seam lines. And it's going to fold nice and crisp up when we fold this tray up. And by having it stuck to the fabric, to the stabilizer, it makes it nice and easy for us. And I like the fact that when we do our stipple fill, remember, stitch and shape is meant to be needled. What we start out with is we start out with a quarter, no, I'm sorry. We start with an inch thick piece of polyester. We needle punch it down to make it 1/8 of an inch thick to create our stitch and shape. So the product itself is meant to be stitched through. A lot of these products aren't meant to be stitched through. We use them because we're very creative as women or as embroiderers, period. What we'll do a lot of times is we will go ahead and, find something that kind of works for us. And we'll do it. Now, I've had a problem here. I know none of y'all ever have anything go wrong like this. But we had something happen, make a sound, and it's not picking up my bobbin, as you can see. So let me see what our problem is. Want to hit my camera and knock it over. Okay, I don't know what happened. I don't have a clear picture here of anything wrong. My thread is not caught at the top. My bobbin was in its tension disc. Let's go ahead and just, nope, we are fine. So I will rethread the needle. I will put this back in. Because we all have amazing machines, we can back up to the place where I lost that thread. I'm going to trim it real quickly. There we go. And I will say I broke a thread and I'm going to back up. There we go. I'm just going to make a couple of stitches right there so it catches. Maybe one more time. And then I'm going to take off again. There we go. This is the first dresser tray I've had, of course, because this one we're recording here. We're doing this for you here. So this is the first tray I've had that I've had a glitch. But it's always good for you to realize that we're all the same. The reason that we do these and show them to you and do the kits and then show you the stitch out is we've already found all the pitfalls, the things like making sure your fabric's taut. These are those little tips that you learn by watching these classes that you would be able to do it from instructions, but you wouldn't necessarily find all the pitfalls. When I take this off to mark for the snap sew and talk about trimming, I'm going to give you a couple of other things that we've learned doing these trays so that you will be successful and not have any disappointments because, oh, my fabric was a little loose. I shouldn't have cut it so far, or I shouldn't have cut it so close. So we'll talk about that. Putting in the snaps, I got a little trick for you as well to mark for the snaps. So we'll look at that. Now this tray, without my broken thread, this is the largest tray there is, and it only takes 14 minutes to stitch out. So the other, quote, 6 minutes is us laying our fabrics down or our stitch and shape if you don't lose one of the pieces. Throw it in the garbage like I did. So this will be almost there. And then our next stitching we'll go through. The next thing that we'll stitch after we do this is it's going to stitch some marks for us to know where we're going to put our snaps on. We get there. Now we're doing that again. So what I would say, if we were, let's see, I would tell you that it's probably time for me to replace my needle. And am I going to do that? Yes, I am. Because your first line of defense is sometimes we just need we need our needle changed. And I will change my needle. It's a quick fix. Needles are not that expensive and they're not worth our frustration. Now, if I hadn't had it break a second time, like I said, I've never had an issue stitching these trays. So that tells me it probably would have been wisdom before I turned on the video camera to change my needle. But since I didn't, there we go. And remember, when you change your needle, always use your screwdriver. Do not just do not just finger tighten it, because I will promise you that you're going to have, and I didn't push my needle up far enough, you're going to have one that is, you think it's tight, but what happens is when you are stitching and the machine is vibrating, you're going to have that needle come out and cause problems. Now, let's see if I can. Okay, good deal. I am going to back up a few stitches because it started shredding the thread. And again, that was a needle issue. There we go. Okay. So we will continue now. So shame on me for not changing my needle. And especially since I'm using stitch and shape, that's a little harder on a needle than just regular. Even though it's meant to be needled, it is a little bit coarser. And so I have made a couple dresser trays here. I should have changed my needle before I went to show you how to do it. We are just having fun here. Now it says my upper thing is not. I'm telling you, it's one of those days. And apparently, this isn't all bad because we are all the same. You know, it happens to all of us. It's not just because you think you're the only ones that ever experience these issues and you have to thread your needle. Dear Lord. I even used to do the hearts. I used variegated thread when I stitched out my hearts, and that is a rayon. That is not a poly. And so when I did these hearts, this was a variegated rayon, and I did not have a thread break. So maybe it was a special just for you today. And I heard the sound again. I think it's my thread, quite frankly. But We're going to finish because this is the color. I'm not going to go try to find another spool of it. I'll just spool off some and we will rethread here. This is craziness. Oh. All right. Now we finished right here. We'll finish our stippling or our fill stitch. Oh, we didn't do the top. One for the top. Whoops. My hand touched the screen. Sorry. Now on one of Clarissa's, she didn't do any stippling in here. What she did is she sectioned out the four flaps and she just did stippling on there. And then what she did is she added just lettering inside. Now on another one, we added lettering over the top of the stipple. So you've got lots of options in here on what you can and cannot do. All right. We'll get us just about done. There we go. Now we're back to, we finished the stippling. Now the next thing it's going to do is it's going to stitch little circles for placement lines. So here we go. And if you're using a tone on tone or something, I would recommend changing your thread to a darker color to see these. Now with this turquoise on the white, I think we'll be able to see them just fine. But it was tone on tone pretty much on the stipple, and it was harder to see them. And I'll show you a trick with them when we finish this on making sure you have easy snap placement. Now, once this last circle stitches out, we're going to have one more placement line stitch out. That'll be the next sequence. And this is where, when we put down our piece of fabric, we folded down the top 1/2 inch. we need to know where it's going to lay on here. So that's what this next line is. This is the placement line to put our backing fabric down. And again, if you're doing tone on tone, stitch this in a different color so you can see it. Nobody else is going to see it because you're going to cover it. All right, we are finished. Thread breaks and all. So again, I'm going to remove this from the hoop. And we are going to see our little placement lines right here and right here. I'm going to take my backing fabric and I'm going to put these right sides together. Now remember, this fabric was right side looking at you. My backing fabric is going to be right sides together. And I'm going to pull it right up to this placement line. Now, once I've got it there, because what happens is this placement line is going to end up in a fold and you're not going to be able to tell when you seal this shut. So I'm going to go ahead and just for safety's sake, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tape this down with my embroidery perfection tape along the bottom and the two sides. There you go. You can see that I need to pull this up a little taller so you can see what I've done. So I've taped it. And remember, again, this is right along those placement lines that it showed us. Now we're going to take our little top piece and we are going to overlap it at least ½ inch. Well, you folded this down ½ inch, so that's your ½ inch overlap. Real easy. Now we've got that down. We're going to do the same with it. As far as I'm going to tape it on the sides. And remember, all this comes in your kit. You'll pick your fabric and you will pick your thread. That'll be on you. But the rest of this will all be in your kit. All the tapes you need, the stabilizers, the designs, the instructions. So now this is all down. I'm going to put this back on the machine. And I'm going to now stitch out. Go, try and make it where you can see it a little good. We're going to stitch out. It's going to go around our outside. Begin. Oops. Okay, that one wasn't held down very good. So good news is my needle wasn't threaded. I'm actually going to change my thread. I'm deciding it's the thread. So I'm going to change this thread real quickly here. Put on another spool of thread. Oh, there we go. And this needs to be taped on a little better. I didn't get it taped to the edge. There we go. Remove this tape real quick. Obviously, didn't get that taped down. Okay. Now, there we go. I'm going to stitch our back to our front. And this is there, she does cut generously. So you've got room to manipulate here. You're going to cut off. Move this up here where we're going. Here we go. We're getting all of our outside done. Then what we're going to do is we're going to turn this using our turning tool. So remember, all these goodies will be there for you in your kit. And I'm going to tell you, you can't have too many precision turning tools. Got 4 of them. I've got one on the ironing board, one on the cutting board, one by my machine, and one in the holder in case I lose one of the others until I clean my sewing room. You know how that is. Got hold of my hoop got hold of my camera cord. Okay, so we are finished with embroidering. We've done all of our stitching in the hoop. We're now going to remove it from the hoop. And I'm going to cut. Now, the instructions tell us to cut this about 1/2 inch away. I'm telling you, do a quarter or a little under a quarter. You'll have a much better time turning. Your circles, your curves will look much better. You're going to also clip your curves, clip your points. I'll show you right here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And maybe if I cut from this side, yeah, so you can more see the line since I changed the thread. So you can see, I'm really doing this more like a quarter or a little less than when I trim around this. Because turning these, you really don't need that much fabric in these turns. Go ahead and cut this off. I'm going to, in fact, what I'm going to do real quickly is I'm going to trim a square here before we try to be real specific here. Let's get this off. Just get off this out of our way. Extra stuff. Okay, there we go. All right, now make it easier to see what we're doing. Okay. So now you can see we're trimming around here. Put this where you can see good. I'm trimming around here and I'm not giving it that 1/2 inch. Now, when I come in here, I'm going to go ahead and come up, but I'm going to clip into this corner. I'm going to do my 1/4 inch away over here. Trying to do this and make sure the camera can see it. It's a little bit tricky. So we'll clip up into those corners there, and then we're going to continue to do so going around. We want just about a 1/4 inch away. Perfect. And again, here we come. 1/4 inch, clip your corner. 1/4 inch, clip your corner. And I started to have one of these done pretty much trimmed. But when I realized how crucial the trimming really was after doing a few of these, I wanted to trim it together. I didn't just want to show you how it looks. And then we're going to come back and we're going to of course, we're going to clip those curves. And we're just going to turn this. I'm not going to turn the whole thing because I've got one ready for the next step to make it a little easier. But I just wanted to trim this with you. I thought that was real important because this is probably one of the most important parts. Is the stitching is pretty straightforward. There's a couple little tricks in here we want to learn to get these to turn really pretty and put snaps on really pretty. Let's do this guy. Okay. Now, when we clip these corners or these curves, remember, don't make the mistake of clipping through the stitching. Just clip right up to the stitching, but not through it. Real easy, real simple. Okay, and then let's do this other one here. Let's clip through these. All righty. Now, let's look at turning our levy. We're going to turn it through this opening right here. And that's why when this turns over, this Apple Web Plus will be next to our stitching shape. And when we press it all down, it will be nice and fused. So we're going to turn these, and I'm just going to get them started with my finger here. And then, of course, I'm going to go for my precision turning tool. This is going to make this very simple for us. And we're just going to push this out. And that turning tool has a nice round ball at the end to make this easier for us so that we're not, you know, poking through the stitches and all of that. Finger in there, I'll use the end. I'll use the fat end to kind of get this in here. There we go. Now we'll use the pointy end and we'll come in and we will just turn this nice. See how nice and pretty that turns? Very nice. Same thing with the others. We're going to do the whole thing the same way. I'm using the blunt end to kind of push that tab all up into there so that I can get to it to use the little pointy end. Now, the smaller they are, the smaller these tabs are. Okay, so just know that the smaller tabs take a little more effort than the bigger tabs. But then you're going to turn the rest of it through here. So I think y'all get the idea. You'll poke all your corners, everything by coming through. So I don't think we need to waste time. You've seen me turn this whole thing. You've seen I've turned this corner. So you've seen how we turn the corners, and it will all turn through here very easily, very completely. You get it. Okay, so we'll just set that aside because we've got one. Now we're going to come over to this one. And what I want you to do, let me put this guy flat. Put him back flat. So this is what that will look like, turn. So I will have turned it and pressed it. Now you can see right here, that's where my circle was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it up. Okay, you see where my circle was right here? You can see that. So I'm going to fold this up so you can see that circle. I'm going to put this is my Floriani stiletto. If you have an awl, I'm going to put it through both pieces, okay? But what I want you to do is I took a pin and I marked that. Now you could just put a pin through that hole or whatever, but I marked it because let me tell you, it's easy to lose them. So now that I've got that done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to put my snaps on. Now, like I said, I'm using K-snaps. So on the K-snaps, I will take this one and put through here. This is my inside piece. And then I will use my K-snap press here. Push that down. And even if you do snaps, they all have some kind of, either you use a hammer and they give you a jig, you always have something to put your snaps on. And now I'm going to do the same thing here. I push that one through. Whoops. Get this guy. And this one is going through the stitching shape. No problem, even with K-snaps. I'm going to put this down. Push that down. And there you have it. A 20-minute dresser tray. How cool is this? And now we just snap these up. The snap smash knife. Oh, one thing I didn't show you. When you finish, you're going to press this down with your tape and it will come in your kit. You'll put a piece of tape in there and it will fuse that shut. And you know how I told you when you fold it up, see, you can't tell where that is. So when you fold it up, it's perfect. So you will fuse that. So you'll press it real good, fold that up before you put your snaps on. And then there you go. There's your dresser tray. How cool is that? And again, I'll just be turned through and do the same thing. I hope you enjoyed our 20-minute dresser tray. I hope you learned when the software. If you're interested in Floriani software, let your dealer know, because we would love for you to have wonderful Floriani software. And don't forget to order your kit. Looking forward to seeing y'all again. So I want to thank y'all for coming. I'm going to go ahead and stop. I'm going to go ahead and change my video to tell y'all. Oh, there you go. Thank you so much for coming. I enjoyed spending this time with you. Have a wonderful month. Bye-bye.